We Shouldn't Talk About This may contain graphic descriptions and/or explicit content that may not be suitable for all listeners. Listener discretion is advised. Hi, everybody. This is Key,
And this is V.
and this is We Shouldn't Talk About This. So, how are you doing today, V?
Key, I'm doing all right today. Just all right.
Well, just think, if you're at rock bottom, the only way you can go is up. That was my inspirational moment for the day.
Yeah, I don't know if I go as far as saying rock bottom. That's a little harsh, don't you think?
Rock bottom adjacent.
Yeah, yeah. Left of center up on the strip.
Oh, well,
I just can't help but think that I just can't help but feel like I'm missing something.
we're all missing something. We're missing the freedom to go as we please, to go outside, to enjoy life.
It has been very nice outside lately, and you can't enjoy it properly, other than in your comfort of your front yard, of course.
Yeah, well, I did. I live beside a school, so I did take a walk around the track. I did maybe like a mile and a half, 2 miles maybe. And got
There you
some
go. There you
nice
go.
fresh air, and I had my mask on, of course. And it was nice. Yeah, like yesterday was beautiful. Today's a little chilly.
Yeah, went back down to the fall weather.
Yeah, it's a little chilly in the room that I'm sitting in. Since we are apart, this is like our second episode being apart. I just feel like the distance is growing
Yeah, I'm losing touch on you for sure.
for sure. Well, luckily we do have a family video conference later today.
Yeah, thanks for our super active mother. Well, my super active mother, not ours.
Mm. She's basically mine too. I won't front, but well, what are we going to talk about today that we shouldn't talk about?
I don't think. Well, we did an episode where we talked about missing people, but they were found. What if
Right.
we talk about missing people that were never found, that just vanished?
Now that's crazy because I just cannot really wrap my head around that. Like, how do you just never be seen again?
I don't know. And like the only thing you can do after so long is expect the worst and just like cope with it. But the person could be still breathing and just alone and scared and not knowing how to get back to where home is.
Right now, there's a show that I watch, 911 Lone Star, I think it's called. But one of the, I think she's an ambulance driver. Like her sister had been missing for 3 years, and they just kind of assumed that she had died, but they didn't. Like her and her mother didn't really believe, but they just kind of made that assumption because it's been 3 years, and they like they hadn't moved, hadn't changed their phone numbers, nothing like that, and then the police found like wreckage and it had some of the sisters like jewelry in it and stuff and some bones, and so they just kind of made that conclusion, and then come to find out her sister was living in a homeless encampment that the paramedic volunteered at, and she happened to see her one day, and she was like in the midst of a psychotic break and didn't like really remember who she was or didn't remember her sister. Like she vaguely remembered her sister, but she didn't know like how long she had been gone. She couldn't remember where she lived, things like that. So I I mean, I guess it had, well, I say I guess it happens to people like that was real life, but I mean, I could see that happening, but not like a lot.
Right, yeah. That
Like,
cause is very, very, very extraordinary, and it's
right. I feel
unfortunate
like
too.
that would have to be like a one in a million chance that somebody just has that type of break mentally where they just don't know who they are, where they're going, and they just end up in a homeless encampment. Most
Yeah,
of those
that's being
people
weird.
are of sound mind, and they, are just on a downtime in their life, or, fell on bad luck. But since these are missing people who are still missing, there's probably not much hope of finding them in any homeless encampment. But maybe one day they'll be found, whether it's alive or not alive.
Yes, hopefully one day, just for closure's sake.
Yeah, because I think that's what people want the most after so long. Like, they just want closure. So, I guess where we're at, 15,
15 King's Day.
we are almost at our sweet 16. This is our quinceañera. We
I'm
are
excited for the food.
we are finally at princess age.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe it.
I know. Everybody, break out your fanciest party dress and sparkliest shoes. This is number 15.
And make sure your abuela approves of your outfit.
Oh, yes, Abuela has to approve. Has to. Because if Abuela doesn't approve, she's not going to cook, and that's who food you want.
And there's no party after that.
Right. There's no party. So, I guess for 15, I'll go first.
All right, let's do
Yay.
it.
So, gather around, children. It's time for a tale of crime. Well, I guess this one ain't really a crime, though. Well, mine isn't. Not really. Is your
I mean,
person missing due to a crime?
yeah, possibly.
Oh,
I think that's
okay.
the thing with missing people because like you don't know where they are unless you find the person that took them or the situation that got them there.
Right. Like, unless there was just like a lot of evidence that a crime had happened, there's like really no way to know for sure. Like, this one is just very mysterious. And this mysterious tale is the tale of Rico Harris. Now, Rico was born on May 19th, 1977, to parents Margaret Fernandez, who was a caregiver for the elderly, and Henry Harris, a semi professional basketball player. Rico was the eldest of four children, and his early childhood saw him and his family move around quite a bit. First to Oregon, then to Los Angeles, before finally settling in Alhambra, California, upon his parents divorcing. Now, growing up, Rico was known for being a gentle giant. He was shy, yet always had a smile on his face. A soft spoken kid that towered over other children on the playground, but he hated confrontation. He was described by friends and family as easy to like and incredibly hardworking, and he saw life as something that he could use to help those around him. Now, throughout the majority of his life, Rico had a dream of one day becoming a professional basketball player. He joined pickup basketball games with adults at Grenada Park Gym by the age of 11. Now, there was no doubt of his talent, and fulfilling his pro basketball dreams seemed to be inevitable as he was 6'9".
11-year-old that was 6'9".
Yes.
Whoa, whoa, that
And
big
he
boy.
had an uncanny ability to shoot a basketball. So I guess his father passed down some of those basketball playing genes. Now, this pro basketball dream had been a passion of his. The passion had been passed down from his father, obviously, along with some height and some skill. And he also saw the profession as a way he could provide a better life for his mother, who struggled to hold down work. In order to pursue his dream, he switched high schools and began to attend Temple City High School, soon joining the basketball team. While in attendance at the school, he was seen as a star player, and in order to keep at his best, he made sure to avoid drugs and alcohol. That's great. Don't drink, don't do drugs, kids.
Don't do drugs. Don't drink.
No, no children, don't do it. Now, upon graduating high school, Rico attended Arizona State University, which had accepted him despite his poor academic performance. I mean, the dude was 6'9". Of course, they're going to take him because they probably wanted him for their basketball team. Now, he had the opportunity to play for several NCAA I pro basketball. Oh, maybe that's a one. I'm not familiar with basketball. That's not my sport. So NCAA I or NCAA 1 basketball programs, but never did due to a combination of academic and personal difficulties. While at school, he was arrested with two others on suspicion of unlawful imprisonment, but was never charged. So that sounds very kidnappy-ish.
Yes, it does.
So Rico transferred to Los Angeles City College, where he led his team to its first state championship title. After that, he attended Cal State Northridge, despite interest from high profile colleges and the NBA. Now, this was a decision he would later be criticized for, as it was seen as limiting his chances of reaching the NBA. I mean, maybe he just wanted to get his degree because it probably would have been very easy to go to a high profile college and struggle and maybe drop out, or just quit college altogether and go to the NBA if he was being looked at by both the NBA and bigger colleges.
Yeah.
So maybe he wanted to do what he felt was best in the long run, because you can't play basketball forever, you can't play any sport forever.
No.
So upon leaving school, he was hired by the Harlem Globetrotters in the spring of 2000.
Oh man, I want to do the whistle right now, but it'll jack up the audio so much.
So he spent a half tour with the Globetrotters before his career ended. Now, Harris blamed a bad back, a distaste for the gimmick filled style of basketball that the Globetrotters played, and coordination problems after being hit in the head with a baseball bat while trying to break up a fight. So, unfortunately, his pro basketball career was over at that point. Now, between 2001 and 2007, Rico faced a total of 16 cases before the Los Angeles County Superior Court on charges spanning from public intoxication and burglary to trespassing. He bounced in and out of jail. He was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, but stopped taking medication because he didn't like how it made him feel. Now, he hit what was described as rock bottom when he overdosed on prescription medication, which is very sad because you can see it's like you had your dream, you had a grasp on it, and it slipped through your fingers.
That has to be rough.
Really, and all because of something that wasn't even his doing. He was trying to break up a fight, and someone hit him in the head with a baseball bat and messed up his head to where his equilibrium was messed up.
No.
So that was extremely probably hard to bounce back from. Probably why he kind of fell into the burglary and the drinking, the public intoxication, that type of thing.
Yeah.
I could definitely see how that would happen. And the drugs, since he overdosed on prescription medication. So after that, after that overdose, he entered rehab at the Salvation Army Adult Rehabilitation Center and began to build a sober life for himself, holding down jobs and making income. He managed to stay clean for about 6 or 7 years, which was great. Now, while clean, Rico worked in private security in LA at a nightclub for several years. And this is where he met his girlfriend, Jennifer Song, in 2012. Now, Jennifer was an insurance broker from Seattle, Washington. So she was just kind of down in LA hitting the party scene. He was security, and they kind of hit it off. And they began a long distance relationship and visited each other like over the weekends for about 2 years. Now, in 2014, Rico began to move his things up to Seattle as he planned to marry Jennifer and restart a life 1,100 miles away from his past, which sometimes is a good thing. Sometimes you got to move away and just start from scratch and let go of whatever happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking at you, mirror. Oh, no. Adjusting in the beginning was difficult for Rico, and Jennifer noticed a significant change in his behavior around September. Now, she confronted him about his sobriety, and he admitted that he relapsed at around the end of July, early August. Now, Rico shared this information with a friend also, and he recognized it was an issue and he needed to fix it. Drinking had cost him a job as a security guard for the event managing company, and he felt like he had let his mother down, let his friends down, and just let everyone down. So, here's leading up to the disappearance. On October 8th, 2014, Rico told Jennifer that he wanted to venture around Seattle while she went to the gym. Now, Seattle is one of the cities I really, really, really want to visit.
I think it'd
Like,
be pretty cool.
I really want to go there. I want to go to like Puget Sound and like everything. I really want to go over there. I just feel like it's really like pretty, even though it's rainy a lot.
Yeah.
And then the Space Needle, I want to go in that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So when Jennifer returned home at 8 p.m., she saw that Rico wasn't there and assumed he was still out exploring. Upon texting him, however, she learned he was actually driving through Oregon on his way to Alhambra. Around 2 a.m. on October 9th, Rico arrived at his mother's house, which concerned her, and she thought that her son had been drinking. Around 2 p.m. on October 9th, Rico arrived at his mother's house, which concerned her, and she thought her son had been drinking. At 10:30 p.m., Margaret suggested that her son take a nap before heading back to Seattle the next day. However, wanting to arrive back in Seattle by 7 p.m. in order to attend a barbecue with neighbors and a meeting about a possible real estate job, Rico didn't heed his mother's wishes and set off. Around 1 a.m., October 10th, Rico called Margaret, his mother, who hadn't realized her son had already left. Soon after, he contacted Jennifer, who too was surprised to learn that he was already on his way back to Seattle. So he did like a 1,100-mile one-way turnaround trip pretty much. Now, Jennifer and Rico chatted for approximately 3 to 4 hours, during which Jennifer grew concerned for her boyfriend's state of mind, as by that time he had been awake for nearly 40 hours. Jennifer eventually fell asleep but woke up at 8 a.m. and called Rico, who told her he was near Sacramento, which is about 6 hours north of Alhambra, buying gas. So, if you're looking at the times, he left Alhambra, his mom's house, somewhere between 10:30 and 1 a.m. He was only 6 hours worth of driving away at 8 a.m.
Jeez.
So, Alhambra is like down by Los Angeles. Sacramento is kind of like a little above the midway point, like toward the north part of California.
Right.
So, Jennifer noted that he sounded tired during that call at 8 a.m. During the day, Margaret tried to check in with him but was not able to get a hold of him the next time she called. Jennifer also tried to call him but didn't receive an answer. At around 10:44 a.m., Rico texted Jennifer to apologize for missing her call. Upon receiving the message, Jennifer tried calling him, but her numerous calls to his cell phone went unanswered. When Rico hadn't arrived at Jennifer's house, she grew more and more worried. At around 8 p.m., she called Margaret to ask if she should file a missing persons report, but the two agreed to wait it out. Jennifer repeatedly checked her phone for any missed messages or calls, but there were none. She also tried to tell herself that maybe he had booked a hotel for the weekend in order to clear his mind. She knew he was going through a lot, a big move, distancing himself from his family and pretty much everything he knew. He kind of started back drinking again. So maybe he just needed some me time. However, on October 12th, which was 2 days since anybody had talked to Rico, a sheriff's deputy in Yolo County, Yolo, was doing a routine inspection of a parking lot in Lower Sight, which is an isolated rest area in Yolo County Regional State Park. While doing so, he saw a black Nissan Maxima parked off to the side, but didn't think much of it until he saw it was still there the next day. So he ran the plates and discovered it belonged to Rico Harris and contacted the Alhambra Police Department. Now, Alhambra police went to Margaret's house upon receiving word of Rico's car being abandoned and told her it had been found hundreds of miles away. After this, she contacted Jennifer and immediately filed a missing persons report, which launched the investigation. Now, to kick off the investigation, police contacted Rico's cell phone provider to ask for pings. Within the hour, they were informed it had pinged in the Redwood Valley area, which is 70 miles away from where the car was found.
Jeez Louise.
Now, this prompted investigators to contact everyone who lived in the area. When they went to inspect the car, it was discovered that the battery was dead and it was out of gas. It also appeared to be ransacked as items were all over the floor. Amongst the items found were Rico's Washington State driver's license and his credit card. This led police to question if Rico had driven the car to where it was found or if someone else had. So the car was towed to the Yolo County Sheriff's Office and it was processed for fingerprints and DNA. Now, a search and rescue team was ordered to look through the area. The search, which involved all-terrain vehicles and an airplane equipped with heat-sensing camera, spanned a 5-mile radius around the parking lot where the car was found, as well as the 27-mile Route 16 through the canyon and a 2-lane road that winds through Capay Valley's steep hills and organic farms about an hour northwest of Sacramento. This was of great importance to the authorities given the dangerous terrain and the animals in the area. But during the search, no trace of Rico was found in the woods or on the road near the parking lot. However, large footprints and the insert from tennis shoes were discovered by Cache Creek, which indicated he'd actually been the one to drive his car to the area. Now, this also led police to speculate that he could have come to the area either to refresh himself or just to kind of take in scenery like other tourists do. Now, early in the investigation, a promising lead was called in from a man in Redwood who said he had Rico's cell phone. According to him, he, his wife, and his grandson had found a backpack along the side of the road. They picked it up to see if there was any ID in it, but couldn't find any. To try and find the owner, they yelled up and down the road as well as looked down the creek, but they couldn't see anyone. So they took it with them. When Sergeant Dean Nyland, the lead detective on the case, received the backpack, it only raised more questions. They could find no indications of a struggle, and they were confused as to why Rico had left it on the side of the road. Also, it contained within it a set of jumper cables, some clothes, and bottles of what's believed to have been alcohol. Now, speculations arose to if Rico had gone down to the creek only to come up elsewhere and hitch a ride out of the area, leaving his backpack. Which that could make sense. Like if you sit it down and you walk down to the creek and then you come up thinking you're coming up the same way, but you're like way further down and you don't see your backpack. Maybe he thought
Yeah.
somebody stopped and stole it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, a search of the cell phone uncovered a video that had been filmed while Rico was parked in lower sight. It showed him sitting in the car. The camera faced the dome light as if he was unaware he was filming. The music blared as Harris tore through papers in the glove box and flung them around, ripping things up, tossing CDs around the car, which explained why it had been in such disarray. Now, this led police to question the missing man's state of mind. Over the next several days, the search for Rico continued, focusing on nearby fire roads and canyons as well as the creek and the area surrounding it. The more they searched, the more investigators began to question why Rico had been so far from Interstate 5, which was the road he needed to be on if he wanted to reach Seattle. This took them to look into the history of his past and his struggles with alcohol and drugs. It made them think that he could have come to the area to do drugs as it was secluded and out of sight. As he would have been awake nearly 50 hours upon arriving at the rest area, they speculated he could have been using drugs to stimulate himself. I could not imagine being awake for 50 hours.
Neither could I. That's
Oh my
that's
gosh.
insane.
That is like just you would have to be like hallucinating and everything at that point. So, a complete inventory of the contents of Rico's car resulted in the discovery of a bindle, which is known by authorities to be used to store drugs. However, no traces of anything illicit were found within it, and no paraphernalia was discovered in the vehicle. Police also looked in surrounding towns known for dealing and using drugs, as well as local homeless shelters and transient camps, but found no signs of them. Now, missing persons report or alert was raised to the press, neighboring law enforcement, and thousands of area cell phones. Within a day of it going out, dozens of calls were made to the Yolo County Sheriff's Office. 3 witnesses claimed to have seen a tall African American male on October 12th, a day after he went missing. The first said he had been sitting on a guardrail. The second saw him walking southbound on Highway 16, looking around a black car, seemingly confused. As well, The three accounts came on the same day his backpack had been discovered by the man from Redwood Valley. This further supported the speculation that Rico had hitchhiked out the area. On October 19th, 2014, a witness came forward to say he'd seen a large individual wearing light colored pants of a similar hue to the ones Rico had been wearing when he left Alhambra, walking on a cattle guard near the bushes near the lower site parking lot. When searched, additional fresh footprints were found that weren't there earlier in the day, which were consistent with Rico having returned to the area. Now, they weren't distinct enough to cast, but the tracks didn't come from an animal and were large enough to have been left by Harris's size 18 feet.
What? Size 18?
Yes.
Oh my goodness, man. That's
So,
crazy.
investigators surmise that he must have returned to grab his belongings, but are unsure as to where he could have gone. 10 teams of cadaver dogs from a volunteer group explored the park. A dive team explored the water, including a small waterfall. Nothing. Near the end of October, authorities scaled back the search. Detective Nyland visited the area around the park dozens of times. He walked it with his dog on his days off. He even reenacted the 100-mile drive from Lodi, where Harris filled up with gas, into the valley. None of it made sense to the detective. There weren't any signs of a struggle or evidence of a crime. His best guess is Harris returned to the site, searched in vain for the car, then got a ride out of the area. Now, Harris's friend, David Lara, who had been a friend and neighbor of Rico since they went to elementary school together, wonders if his friend's trusting, mild mannered disposition led him to let his guard down. Now, detectives continue to check Rico's credit report for any of his cards or incidences of identity theft, but nothing has come up. His bank account also hasn't been touched since he set off for Seattle. The more time that goes by, the more it's believed that foul play was involved in Rico's disappearance. And as of 2015, the case has gone cold.
Man, dude
I
just
mean,
vanished.
right. And he was a big guy, 6'9", size 18 feet. He,
That still blows my mind right there.
he would be noticed if he was walking around somewhere. Like they said, they had 3 different people call in on the same day saying they had saw him.
Yeah.
So he's quite noticeable.
Yeah.
And I would think that where he is, like they said, that they checked the transient camps and the homeless shelters and everything. So it's like, where could he have disappeared to? They had cadaver dogs, dive teams. Like, where did he go? You think he got into a car with somebody and they ultimately killed him?
Yeah. If like his friend said, like, his like calm, trusting self. Uh, such a weird case.
I know. It's
So,
like because he came back. It was like a week later when they found fresh footprints.
wait, let me see. Yeah, he came back, and the detective said, they matched his feet too, right? They matched his size shoe, right?
Right.
Yeah, that makes no sense.
it doesn't. Like his, it's like, okay, so where was he for that week that none of the teams could find him when they were searching for him? So it seems like, okay, he must have went with someone who brought him back and was like, okay, my car's gone. I guess I'll just go back with you. But then what? Like, where's that
Yeah,
person? Why hasn't no one said anything?
I don't know. I feel like it'd be foul play too.
No, that just when I came across this story, it just kind of blew my mind. Like this huge guy just disappeared, and that's it.
Yeah, that's not normal at all.
Well, what do you have in store for us?
So my tale is of Tara Calico.
Calico like the cat?
Yeah, like the cat. Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna go back to September 20th, 1988, Valencia County, New Mexico. 19-year-old college sophomore Tara Calico was born February 28th, 1969. Tara was a popular, athletic, smart, and beautiful young woman with a bright future ahead of her. She was in college majoring in psychology. She had a solid, structured scheduling system of her days, and she had a healthy relationship with her boyfriend. On the morning of September 20th, Tara was proceeding to do her regular morning bike ride, but this morning she had a late start. Her usual bike rides would be right at sunrise, and at times it would be accompanied with her mother, Patty Doyle, but this time this time and a couple other times, it's without her mother, and when her mom didn't ride there, she advised Tara to take a little thing of mace with her. But Tara refused, just thinking that her mom was being overprotective. So her actual bike had a flat tire on it, so she took her mom's pink Huffy.
All right. Pink Huffies. I had a Huffy at one point. Go Huffy.
Go Huffy.
Yeah. The bike of the day.
So Tara, she needed to get her routine bike ride in, no matter what. She had a busy day today. She had a tennis date with her boyfriend at 12:30, a class at 4 p.m. So Tara left the house, Sony Walkman and Boston cassette tape in hand, and went along her route on the New Mexico State Road 47, which is a road that's like a little over 60 miles, 97 kilometers. But of course, Tara didn't do.
Jeez.
She didn't ride the entire 60 miles. She had her own structured. I think 37 miles is what she rode.
That's still a lot.
It's still a lot.
Hey, more power to you, Tara, because I could not.
Yeah, for real. So Tara began out on her mom's 10-speed pink Huffy, and she told her mom, "If I'm not back by noon, come pick me up." Noon passed by, and Tara had not returned home. Her mother went out to the trail to look for her, but couldn't find her, so then she contacted the police. The police conducted a full search along Road 47. No Tara. Pieces of Tara's Walkman and Boston cassette tape were found on the trail, but no signs of her were anywhere.
Oh no.
It was believed that she left these items behind to mark her path. Now, several people were questioned, and they remember seeing Tara ride her bike, but no one witnessed her abduction or anyone following her. Some people did say that they saw a light colored truck that was like behind her for a while, but they didn't
Mhm.
know if this truck was involved with her disappearance, and all efforts to locate this truck were failed.
Damn.
And so the entire case goes dark for almost a year. And on June 15th, 1989, A Polaroid of an unidentified young woman and a boy, both gagged and bound, were found in a parking lot of a convenience store in Port St. Joe, Florida.
What the hell?
Yeah. The woman who found the photo said that it was found in a parking space where a white windowless Toyota cargo van had been parking when she arrived at the store.
The light colored van.
Light colored van. She said that the van was being driven by a man with a mustache, believed to be in his 30s, but this man was never caught or identified. According to Polaroid officials, the picture had to have been taken after May in 1898 because that particular film used in the photograph was not available until then. So after this, the photo was broadcast on A Current Affair in the July episode, and John Doyle, who was Tara's stepfather, was contacted by friends who had seen the show and thought the women resembled Tara. And also relatives of Michael Henley, who are also in New Mexico, which is the little boy's name, that were told about the episode and said they believed that it was their son in the photo.
So two abducted kids in one photo?
Yeah, and both are thinking they're from New Mexico,
Whoa.
and they're
That's
all the way in Florida now.
that's crazy.
So John Doyle and Michael Henley, they met up with investigators and examined the Polaroid. Now, Patty said that she was convinced it was her daughter because there was a scar on her leg that was identical to a scar that Tara had received from a car accident in high school. And also, there was a paperback copy of V.C. Andrews' My Sweet Adrena, which is said to be one of Tara's favorite books, and it was seen lying next to the woman. Now, from some of the research I've done, V.C. Andrews was a popular author in the late '80s, and it was like the teen drama books, you know.
Right.
And so this young lady having a V.C. Andrews book isn't really concrete that it could be Tara. It could be any other of the millions of V.C. Andrews fans.
Right, especially if it was a popular book.
Yeah. So the Scotland Yard analyzed the photo and concluded that the woman was Tara, but a second analysis by the Los Alamos National Laboratory disagreed. And then an FBI analysis concluded that it was inconclusive.
Oh hell.
So,
So we got a yes, a no, and a maybe.
yeah, exactly. And so for the boy's mother said she was almost certain it was the child and it was her child in the photo, but his remains were found in 1990 in the Zuni Mountains, about 7 miles from his family's campsite from where he disappeared,
Oh,
75 miles away from where Tara disappeared. And police believe that the boy wandered off and died of exposure.
oh no.
Yeah, that's pretty sad.
That's terrible.
Because in the photo, you can see the little boy is terrified, but it's also a young boy, and so if they thought that was their son would have to be around the same age.
Right. But he was found so like a few you said 7 miles?
Yeah, yeah, 7 miles from his family's campsite.
Yeah, I mean that's what I would believe that he had wandered off and got lost.
Yeah, because I think 7 miles on foot is a good ways.
That is. And they probably
And
wouldn't have even thought to look that far out.
no, exactly. They would just think that someone got him, and then they'll try to concentrate their efforts on getting the police involved and finding the person who got him, and not searching in the 10-mile radius, which would take a while to do anyway.
Right. Oh, that's sad.
But he was at least found, though. As for Tara, there were several sightings reported of her in 1988 and 1989, mostly in the southern half of the United States. Some of them by truck drivers who claimed they saw Tara working as a table dancer or as a prostitute, giving rise to speculation that she may have been held in those positions by her kidnappers. And some have suggested she was still alive by 1994, but none of these sightings could be confirmed.
Man.
And then pretty much another 20 years goes by before anything else comes up about the case. So in 2014, a multi-agency task force examined it, and in all the momentum, both the FBI and the Valencia County Sheriff's Department were probing at least two living local suspects, though they declined to discuss their probable theories or the suspects' names. A review of the voluminous case files completed in a 6-month period laid out further leads, according to Valencia Sergeant Joseph Rowland, the chief investigator. No new info. Well, new info at any point could crack the case open. He says. Answers, at least, would mean an end to the strangest mystery Terra's tight-knit railroad community has ever seen. It shocked everybody, says Carla Garcia, a lifelong Valencia resident and editor of the local newspaper. We were in limbo, and we've been in limbo for almost 30 years. But at this point, well, in 2020, it would mark 32 years in September that Tara's been missing. And so she would be 41 this year. Well, no, wait, she turned 41 in February.
And also, was it her in the picture or was it not her? And if it was her, who's the little boy who was with her? And if it wasn't her, who are those two kids?
Yeah, both of those are still in the dark, and it is the strangest thing that like it seems like the photo was planted there by the person, because if you are a weirdo who abducts children and take pictures of them hogtied, why would you why would you be like careless with a picture like that?
So do you think maybe the abductor mailed it to someone they knew in Florida and was like, leave this in a parking lot somewhere to kind of like throw them off like a red herring?
Hmm. Now that is a very unique point. I did not think about that.
Like, maybe they'll concentrate their efforts over here. Since we're in New Mexico, we can drive down to Old Mexico, better known as Mexico, and escape.
And that is something I did not consider. If they were any good criminal, they would do something like that.
Are you calling me a good criminal?
I'm calling you someone who is perceptive enough to the acts of criminals and know how to create your own criminal mindsets.
Oh my gosh, I should apply to be a behavior analysis with the FBI.
Yeah, you should. I'm sure all you need is like 20 years of experience of equivalent job, right?
But I am currently a behavioral analysis on a podcast. So
Oh, look at that.
I think that might be, like actual work experience that they could take.
Yeah, you can send your link to the FBI.
I'm on it. Agent Key is on the case.
Agent Key. All right. So, after so many years, loved ones still remember Tara, who was studying psychology when she disappeared, as a as someone willingly as someone willfully pursuing her dreams. Mature beyond her years after recovering from a car wreck in high school, she wasn't going to let anyone stand her way, says Janie Evans, a friend and coworker with her at a local bank. Law enforcement sources tell people that Tara may have been taken by someone whom she knew. It's a possibility endorsed by Sergeant Rowland and former Valencia County Sheriff Rene Riviera, who worked as the case's lead investigator for a decade starting in 1996 and left office in 2011. Citing two informants, Rivera thinks Tara could have been killed by at least two teenage boys from the community who acted with two accomplices. He tells people one theory was that she was attacked by boys riding together in a pickup truck that crossed her path on her bike ride that fateful September day. As sheriff, Rivera has said the boys' families then helped them cover up their crime. He still believes Tara is likely buried somewhere in the county. And
Hmm.
the thing is, one of the main things that were said was that if Tara was being followed, she wouldn't have known because she had her she had her little over ear headphones, those little plastic ones, the old school
Right.
ones. She had those on when she was like listening to her Walkman as she was riding her bike. And she was probably like, most likely in her zone. She wasn't like looking behind her or whatever. And like I'm sure on her path, since she did it so many times, she knew where she had to be on the road to avoid being in traffic and stuff. Or maybe she was good enough to be in traffic and she was still being protective of things in front of her and to her left and to her right, but not things behind her.
Right. Or maybe like because she rode that path so many times, maybe she knew, okay, by this point in this song I should be this far.
Yeah, yeah,
Like, or
yeah,
she
yeah. So
just
she
like
had a
kind of
muscle
had a
memory.
mental note, yeah, like a mental note of, if I'm on track I'll be this far, if I'm behind I'll be this far.
And I really wish I got a time frame for. I really wish I got a time frame for her when she left the house because all I was able to find was that she left later than usual, but I didn't get if she left at 9 or 10 or what because that would leave such a small window for her to have left her house and for this person to have seen her and watched her and then took her or whatever happened because that would narrow down to like is this person were they like surveying the area around there or what because
Right. Well, I'm thinking, okay, so if, let's say, she she told her mom, if I'm not home by 12, come get me. The police think it might have been somebody she knew. So let's say she was riding and she was like, okay, I'm behind, it's close to 12, and she saw somebody that she knew in this truck, in the van, whatever. So they were like, yeah, I'll help you out. They put her bike in there. She's getting in, like she's trying to help get the bike in. It knocks her Walkman off, breaks it, so she just leaves it there. She gets in the van, and then boom, nobody ever sees her again.
okay, you're really breaking this down. You're on point with this.
Because it's like I just cannot not see how people can't be seen. Like someone had to see something, another car, anybody, somebody had to see something.
Yeah, there was an account of a gentleman who saw this truck and saw the driver of the truck because he was late. He was late going to work, and so he was behind the truck, on Road 47, and he was like, "Why is this truck going so slow? Oh my goodness!" And in front of the truck, he couldn't see that there was a bicycle there. So he was
Right.
just peering over the side, like I got to make my merge over because it's like the one lane kind of style. And
Hmm.
so he's like, "Gotta find my opening, gotta find my opening." This man, he's in fashion retail, so he's a very analytical person when it comes to people. So like he gave his account of what he saw, and he said he's like, yeah, it was a man with crazy red hair. Like when the sunlight hit it, it was like fire orange. He had blue eyes. He had a very pale skin. He had like a military haircut. Like he gave like a detailed of how this person looked, but unfortunately they still weren't able to find this suspect.
Man, and I'm just thinking, okay, if it was someone that she knew, maybe it didn't look strange because she wasn't like struggling to get away. Like, if she was helping put her bike in the vehicle, like anybody would just be like, oh, maybe she got a flat tire and they came to pick her up, or oh, look at her brother helping her. That's so sweet. Like, it wouldn't trigger anything
Yeah, yeah,
to be suspicious. Like they'd be like,
yeah.
oh,
You want to take a
you
second
know,
look at it.
right. It's something that you just like see and dump out your mind and not even have a second thought.
All right.
Man, that's crazy.
Oh, it really is. Yeah. Now,
And then the
now,
whole picture thing. Wow.
yeah, the picture thing is really weird, and now I have a new like take on that now from what you said, and that has me thinking now. But actually, another podcaster, Melinda Esquibel, she was a high school friend of Tara, and she's host of the podcast Vanished: The Tara Calico Investigation. And in her podcast she's like, giving her accounts of like interviews with people, because her and Tara's stepsister Michelle Doyle are searching through the investigative files and feeding information to law enforcement, and they're like, they're trying everything they can to help find Tara, or help like get a better conclusion to the story of what happened to Tara, because her stepsister, they want to know where she's at, but they also want someone well, she also wants someone to pay for it, like someone to be
Mhm.
accountable for this.
Right.
And like the last big thing that happened with this case was that in October 2020, 2019, the FBI posted a $20,000 reward for information on the case.
Man, that this one is so mind-boggling. Like it'd be different if she was like running on a trail in the woods, but she was on a road on a bike,
On a pink bike.
right? Very noticeable. Like you said, the other guy who was behind the van, like, traffic would have been slowed down because there's a bike. So I'm pretty sure like at least maybe two or three cars realize, hey, something's going on. Like, why are we moving slow? And then when they go, they be like, oh, it's a biker. Oh, it's a biker. Because, I do that. I'm like, oh, it's a person on a bike. Okay, let me go around.
Yeah.
So you would
and
think something.
and the 20th September 20th, 1988 was a Tuesday. So like, depending on what time she left, it could have been like, well, it wouldn't have been lunchtime because 12 was when she needed to be back home, but like it could have been any kind of like peak time where people were going through Road 47, but it is a 60 plus mile road, so there's lots of beginning and end to it.
Man, this was a crazy case.
Yeah, like for both of our cases, it really makes me like wonder, like wow, like these people, they absolutely didn't deserve whatever happened to them. Their families don't deserve this kind of like, emotional terror, and it's really just crazy.
It is because like I'm just so mystified with Tara's case because it's not like she was biking in the mountains and she fell and like she might be like trapped at the bottom of a cave or something. It's like, what in the world happened? Who took her and how did they get her with absolutely nobody noticing to the point to where they remember seeing a girl in a pink bike getting stuffed into something on the road?
Yeah,
Like,
especially when it's like a sketchy van too, a sketchy Toyota cargo van too.
right. That's what takes me back to maybe the police are right about it being somebody she knew, because then there wouldn't have been a struggle. There wouldn't have been any reason to like cause alarms in people's heads if somebody's helping put their own bike into a vehicle or onto the back of a truck, or if they said it was like a group of guys on bikes, maybe they thought they were all together. It's wow, this one is like blowing my mind for real.
And like, and then of course, like, there's a conspiracy theory that like it's not really like an inside job, but someone who has power in Valencia County did something and they're covering it up ultimately. So like any kind of new lease they get, they're just like, immediately just doing away with them. Just because it will lead back to the person who did it, which is someone who is like who has some sort of power in that area.
With that good of a description, I would think if it was a like someone in law enforcement or the government, they would be easily recognizable.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, if you have like a
Like,
crew haircut with extremely red hair, like I think people would be
yeah,
like,
like
oh yeah, that's isn't that Daniel Rafferty? Like, yeah, that is Daniel.
yeah, like I don't know if I can go with conspiracy theory on this one. Like I like a good conspiracy theory, but I don't know if I could get down with that one. Hmm. Well, this has been some very, very good cases today.
Yes, they have. They
My
have.
wheels are turning.
Have a think about this for us today, huh?
Yes, because I don't know. Now I got to pull up the maps of where she was at and look at it, and I, there's there's like lots of research for me to do now.
Yeah, and I'm gonna listen to another episode of the Vanish podcast just to see what other account she says in there.
Well, since neither one of our stories were too terrible, not murder, not mayhem, not gory.
Yeah, true.
I think 15 was a good episode.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
Yeah, this was nice for our quinceanera. I approve. Abuela approves.
Abuela Key.
Oh my gosh. So I guess we can bring it up any higher if you have any more shout outs or anything nice you want to talk about.
Absolutely. Shout out to all of our listeners. We've broken 1,000 in
Woohoo!
listens, and it's incredible. We appreciate all of you listening, tuning in all around the world. We greatly appreciate it. You're all amazing.
Yes, I concur. I co sign. I second that emotion. And I don't think I have anything. Quarantine is pretty boring, so it's like not much going on.
Yeah, just same thing every day it seems.
It does seem.
Hmm.
But
But
we will make it through
that's right.
because we are, what did you say? Off center to the left and down the road.
Left of center, up on the strip. You never heard that song?
Yeah. No.
It's a good song. You should listen to it. It's like this like it's so weird because like it plays my job, so I heard the song before, but like it's like a number one hit from Pretty in Pink, I guess. I've never even seen that movie, but it's a
Oh,
catchy song.
well, that's where we are all currently right now.
That's right.
So, with that, I guess I'll say I'm Key.
And I'm B.
We shouldn't talk about this.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.